Welcome to this week's Cattle Call. I'm Susan Littlefield on the Rural Radio Network. We're going to talk about what's going on. Is it a correction type of day that we see midweek on this cattle market? And how much better is the prices for the cash in the north versus those in the south? We'll look at some shrinking margins and concerns too about this hot weather and what it's doing to the cattle weights. We'll take a look at that and a whole lot more on today's Cattle Call. As you can see, Brad Kooima is joining me. He's with Kooima and Varlick out of Sioux Center, Iowa. So let's just talk. Do we kind of chase those longs out of June to start out midweek?
Yeah, let's start right there where I got a raspberry. Yeah, right. Yeah. So yes.
Okay.
To give you a little backdrop, we have a discounted structure in the futures market. I don't think I'm telling any secrets there. Even with that, though, where it doesn't appear, at least to me, that there was any economic reason. No reason based on where the basis is that there should have been any deliveries yet. There are 25 deliveries posted yesterday, all heifers, all at Tulia, Texas, and delivered at a time when last week they were getting 139 to 140 for their cattle. Yesterday and today there was some 138 bids. Basically delivering against a 137.80 market and a couple dollars cost to make the delivery. Whatever. One story has it that, well, this poor guy just can't get a bid. I find that difficult to believe. Whatever the reason is, I'm extremely disappointed that what happens is this is extremely disruptive, because if you're long, you don't want to catch delivery because, especially if you're living in Iowa, for instance, or Nebraska or wherever, and so the longs get out, they sell it. Then that sell-off in the futures impacts basis traders in the South who sell cattle based on what their basis is. So all of a sudden now the cash market is softer down there because of what it, in my opinion, is basically one event, and that's the deliveries. I think that delivery point should either be eliminated, delisted, or at the very least do what they did to us up here at Worthington, where they put a discount on it. If that's the kind of discounted poor cattle they are, then that's indeed discounted and not let that disrupt the whole marketplace. So yes, I was frustrated with that. I thought that the guts of the market, otherwise, Susan, the disparity between north and south, like you mentioned, it's off the charts. There was a little bit of 150 paid here in Iowa today. I just got 240, which is, if they make 63, that's 150, 120. Got to pay the freight yet. But so, yeah, the difference between north and south is extreme.
Okay, you brought up have to pay the freight yet, and I wondered if we had talked probably about a week and a half ago. I talked to a guy who hauls cattle for producers like yourself, and he said every Sunday he's having to recalculate what that freight cost is going to be because the price of diesel just keeps going up and up.
Yeah, I know, it's a problem. One of those that, as a farmer, you're used to not being able to just pass it along like everybody else gets to do in the world. And hey, the world runs on the truck drivers, and I don't begrudge them having to make a living. I get that completely, but yeah, it's very real. For me, I just noticed it again the other day. I'm paying trucking bills on cattle that I background in central South Dakota and finished back here, where the trucking used to be $1,100, maybe $1,200 a load. Now it's $1,700 a load, and that's the difference in 3 or 4 months. So. Mm-hmm. It's very real. It might have a little bit to do with, you'd wonder why doesn't a northern packer, export cattle from the south, right, and haul them up here to kill them instead of paying $10 or $12 more up here. I think freight's part of it, but I think the biggest part is quality. The choice select spread at 20 over still is going to incentive of the packer to chase choice, and our cattle are grading much higher here than they do down there.
You were talking about this correction that we've seen on a midweek. Is that going to set the tone for the rest of the week? Are we going to be able to spur things up a little bit?
Well, I'm hoping that we did what we needed to do today, kind of. And we did not close well. We closed right against the lows. But like, for instance, the most actively traded contract, the August cattle, we left a gap here 4 or 5 days ago. 38% retracement of this last leg up is right at today's low, and the gap is the low today is right at what takes it to fill the gap. So there is some technical stuff right here where it finished today. Now it would have been nice to get a little separation and close off our lows a little bit. But I thought we tested support here. Tomorrow we'll know a little bit better. Maybe you'd catch some better news on that delivery thing. Let's say somebody maybe demands them or something like that. that might be enough to stop the bleeding here too for a minute. Based on what the fundamentals look like to us here, it looks to us like the market's still very healthy.
What about shrinking margins? What's that going to mean long term?
Yeah. That's the how is that? The world's smallest violin
Yeah.
playing something. Anyway, that's an old junior high joke, I guess, is it not? Well, clearly, I'm not sympathetic. You got a Packer that's, he's complaining a bit because his margins are starting to shrink. Maybe they're only $200 ahead. The poor thing, right? But today is the first time I've heard a little bit more about it. Like, well, maybe we're gonna have to slow down these Saturdays a little bit, or yada yada. That frustrates me. There are things I think that are wrong with our industry, but I've heard this talk before about kill cuts, and what has happened in the past is that someone might mention it, hoping that it's the other guy that does it, because even if his margins are 150 instead of 500 or 1100 or whatever, that's still pretty significant historically. And I just think that, greed takes over, and I think they'll still want to kill. The demand continues to exceed expectations. We've talked about this so-called shrinking demand now, how many weeks in a row, months, it feels to me like, where they're, well, wait till we get to Memorial Day, or okay, wait till we get to Father's Day, or wait till it gets to be summer, wait till it's hot, last year we never really backed off. We taught our consumer to go grill your own steak, do it twice a week. It's the same cost as if you go out, maybe more than that. Right. Mm-hmm. And so we'll see. I get it. $5 gas is a worry. Recession is a worry. And I'm not discounting that. But if it's just cattle fundamentals, I like the way it feels.
All right. One final question for you. You talked about this heat, and obviously we've seen a couple really warm days. Long term, where are we looking on what it's going to affect these cattle weights?
Generally speaking, it's bullish because it takes weight off, and from experience, it's difficult to get that weight back as someone that feeds through the north here. The average weights, I was looking at the comprehensive data here just a few minutes ago, would indicate down again. Comprehensive data is a little quicker than that 13-year-old data, 13-day-old rather data that we get on Thursdays. So I think it has a tremendous impact. I think it also is a little bit of a short-term negative impact because, Susan, it incentivizes the producer to let's get them gone before they die here. Let's get them to a packer, and so that maybe makes them a little more easy seller in the short term, but in the intermediate term, that takes supply and moves these cattle forward again. So, we're extremely current here. I've told you that before. Right in my neck of the woods, we're as current as we were in 2014.
Good to hear. Good
Absolutely.
to hear. Thanks for joining us this week, Brad.
Welcome.
That's been Brad Kooima joining us for this week's Cattle Call. And as we always remind folks, commodity futures and options involve a substantial risk of loss not suitable to all investors. And that's the Cattle Call right here on the Rural Radio Network.